show that all members are here and accounted for, and we have our new student rep, Ella, if she would like to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ella Dotzler. I'm a junior at Biglake High School, and I'm really excited to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Excited to have you.
Okay. First thing is a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Nygaard, second by Scales. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we'll now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if I remember correctly, you had nobody that signed up for open forum.
Correct, I have not received any.
Okay. Okay, consent agenda. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Brown,
Second.
second by Sixberry. Any discussion?
One question.
Yeah?
On the personnel hires, we have some long-term subs. Is that what we're doing on, just to fill in for some teachers that are,
Correct.
Okay.
With the quarantine requirements and whatnot, it was a cost neutral because we're gonna have to hire subs anyway during those times. We've already been utilizing them, so, that's exactly what you're thinking is the
Okay.
intent behind
Are
that.
they building subs?
They are.
Okay.
They are, but also with the understanding that they can be shared, but there is a
Okay.
primary space, so.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to donations. Looking for a motion on donations.
So moved.
Moved by Nygaard,
Second.
second by Sixberry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to the financial report.
Good evening, school board members. I'm just waiting.
For it to load.
Yeah, I have a PowerPoint that should be, wait for it to get up there. Yeah, right there. There you go. All right, so tonight I'm going to give you an enrollment update and a COVID funding update and a food service update relating to the chain of events leading to approval for free meals. So that's kind of our agenda for the report tonight. So we'll start with enrollment. And I think I reported last month, we felt we were going to be short of our budget. And when we looked at day one enrollment, we are short of what our budgeted enrollment is. And first I want to mention that budgeted seated enrollment number, emphasize that seated enrollment. Our total budgeted enrollment is 3120, but the difference between the 3120 and the 3062 are tuition students. So we're comparing our seated, so I call kids in seats, kids that are here. And so enrollment is the equivalent of average daily membership, just to remind the board. So adjustments have been made for PSEO students or the post-secondary enrollment option students and part-time students. And one good news is that we do have 15 less PSEO students than last year. So that means that, the kids are here. So that helps with our budgeted enrollment.
Hey,
Ended
Ash,
up at,
I'm sorry.
Oh, yep.
So you see an enrollment increase in the CIC classes because of that reduction? Is that?
I don't have
correlation?
those numbers yet.
Okay.
So I can't answer that right now.
That would be the key, right? That we're maintaining them, and they're still maintaining the collegiate level courses, but they're with us on campus.
Could be.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing parents didn't want their students on campuses, college campuses,
Or
just
they're closed.
just guessing
Or
because of
they're
COVID.
closed,
So when you compare day one, just where we're at now compared with our budget seated, we're 78 less than projected. And then I have the kindergarten number there, 223. So reasons for leaving. So we had a lot of transfers, more I think than I've ever seen. And I think we're not surprised at these numbers. Homeschool, over 60 decided to homeschool. It's more than we've ever had, ever. Other virtual academies, 24, and I think we all know that number could have been a lot worse had we not started Biglake Online. And then just transfers to other traditional school districts, about 35, but then we've gained kids from other districts too. And then just a lot moved. So when you look at why are we short, I attribute it to two reasons. One is I really think kindergarten parents decided to wait.
Right.
Decided to wait another year. I mean, it's you know, we can certainly understand that. And I think parents that decided to homeschool, because we're about 25 short kindergarten, you know, in the homeschool, that's really what our 78 number is. So, you know, we might get some of those kids back. I think there's a lot of us that believe that maybe some of the homeschool kids might come back. You know, we don't know, but you know, we'll just keep monitoring it like we always do. So, if you go on to the next slide.
Angie, talking to the other business managers, are they experiencing the homeschool
Yes.
thing too?
Yes. I'm hearing a lot homeschool. And I think a neighboring district was down like 100 kids. I think you told me that, Tim. So, yeah, we're not alone.
Okay.
We are not alone.
Younger ones, do you know what the age is? Is it the younger ones?
Yeah, when you look at what our numbers were last year, and then you move them up a grade, it is in elementary. We're mainly, yeah, I think a lot of parents have chosen to, you know, homeschool or, you know, Biglake Online, we get to count those kids, but yeah, it's in the elementary.
The other
Most,
thing, Ange, is we don't, without the comparison to last year at this time, because that's not exactly there, we don't really know what we're offset from that period. We just know what we're off from a budget standpoint right now. You know, the graphical view, like where we are in
Oh, yeah,
comparison to
yeah, I
last
didn't-
year at this time.
Yeah, I didn't include that because we really need 2 months before yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll have that next month.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I'm curious on, how
Yep.
we are from last year as well.
Yeah, we are down from last spring.
I mean, there is somewhat
That's-
of an outlier status to this because of what's going on, so we have to take it with a grain of salt as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you know, and like we were talking in our cabinet meeting this afternoon, you know, next year, we might have a really large kindergarten class.
Right.
Yeah.
All those homeschoolers coming back.
Yeah,
They just waited a year.
they just waited a year, we might have a pretty large class. So, we'll see what COVID brings, I guess, or when this pandemic ends. So if you go on to the next slide, yeah, so just a couple of comments about impact to the budget. Loss is approximately 700,000. We're gonna get some what's called declining enrollment aid. I don't have that exact number yet, but we will get that. And I just want to remind the board, you know, we do have a projected $6 million fund balance. We can weather this. We can weather the storm. Our extra staffing and transportation costs, because we do have some extra costs due to COVID, from July 1st to December 30th are covered by the CRF federal funds, or the Coronavirus Relief Fund. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. You know, and then we're always reviewing expenditures for cost savings. And so I'll still be planning to present a revised budget. I don't want the board to panic or, you know, it's a loss. I mean, we have an enrollment loss, but, you know, I still feel we can weather the storm, so.
But the overall net loss is gonna be less.
Yeah. So if you go on to the next slide, this is just reminding, well, I know it's hard to see, but that unassigned fund balance, this is the original budget you approved in June. It's hard to see, but, you know, we're still projecting a $6 million fund balance. It probably will be less than that by the time we adjust the budget, but we still have a healthy fund balance. So I just want to point that out.
Well, I think if you put in perspective, the fiscal soundness of this group has really been able to make us weather this storm.
Exactly.
And that's what we should be focused on, that we can, the puts and takes, we can still manage it as a district.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so if there's not any other questions, I'll just, gonna give another brief update on our COVID funding, our CRF funds. So the application has been approved, and I have in the PowerPoint, the budget was pending review, but I did receive notice, I think it was late yesterday. It has been approved. So everything's been approved. We can start drawing on those funds. All the funding requests had to be COVID-related and not budgeted for in our 2021 budget. I just want to add a comment about that. So we did anticipate some additional costs in our 2021 budget, And so that kind of came back to haunt us, because if we are, like, for example, I want to use transportation. I budgeted for 19 double routes, thinking we'll probably have an extra route just to reduce capacity. We actually have 20. Well, last year we had 18. So I could only claim that one additional route under this. And we will get audited by our auditors. I will have to justify every one of these costs, so.
Is it based on routes or number of students? Because it
Routes.
seems,
That's how we do our budgets.
Yeah, that's how I do our budget, yeah.
right, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's convoluted a little bit with the number of students, right? You calculate the routes based on students.
Yeah, because
It-
if we had less students, we'd have cut a route. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not necessarily just that. We
Oh,
also have the volume of students that can fit on a bus, right? Because we have to reduce that now. So I'm just
Right.
wondering is
Yeah, I
if,
think she already factored that in.
I'm gonna have to show the auditors what I budgeted, that's what's gonna happen. And we have, and
Okay.
just from that third bullet point, we've got lots of costs. The biggest part is gonna be the Chromebooks and iPads, I mean, that's over $400,000
we didn't
that we
budget
had to
for- we didn't
buy.
budget for that though.
Yeah,
We did not budget.
right,
for that.
not for what we had to buy.
Right.
Help families distance learning, hybrid learning, so they could take them home with them. Extra software licensing agreements, I know I've been working with David on that. Which we already talked about, transportation, internet hotspots, PPE, we're still buying PPE, cleaning equipment, actually extra staff development costs and extra staffing costs. Like, for example, we had to add 15 minutes onto some of our EAs. We can claim that so we'll take that 15 minutes and we can claim it under the CRF funds. So then the second bucket of money, I call it the CARES Act, acronym, you might hear GESSER or ESSER funds. That's the one, the lesser amount, and we will be working, or I'll be working on that application here in the next month or so. We have 2 years to spend, so unlike the CRF funds, we have to spend by December 30th. In fact, they meaning MDE, want us to mostly have it spent by mid-November. So they're gonna contact us if we don't have the majority of it spent by then, because they're gonna wanna know, are we gonna spend it? And I will assure them that we will. So we'll spend CRF funds first, then we tap into the CARES Act or the GESSER and ESSER funds. That's at 258,679. We have 2 years to spend that money. So basically, whatever's not gonna be covered under CRF, we're gonna put under CARES Act funding. And trust me, we'll spend all of it. Sherburne County, that grant we have applied for, maximum amount was $75,000. We actually applied for $85,000. We may receive, I'm looking at David, we haven't gotten an update yet on, yeah, application's still pending, but David submitted it, and that supports social emotional learning.
There's another meeting coming up. Is it next Wednesday? You know,
Okay.
that meeting next Wednesday too?
I think they're talking about it next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we should find out about that soon.
How were you able to apply for more than the maximum?
She said to shoot for the stars.
She did.
Some people literally are not doing anything.
There's a
Right.
maximum and then there's a real
There's-
top?
Yeah, but
Okay.
Tony, there's some schools that are not applying for it.
Ah, okay.
There,
Same thing like on our fire side too, is like, we have X number of dollars that we can get for training. They say, we'll do more training because not everybody's applying for the stuff, so we.
So they gotta spend it or
The
lose it.
proactive people, yeah, the
Yeah.
proactive people get out there and use it, so that's why you ask for some more, because somebody didn't use it.
Right.
Exactly. And actually too, and through some conversation is that when all these grants and all their plan to spend this money is utilized, and if there's, or the processes have gone through and there's still some money left over, then they are considering, as I think I mentioned this last month, that Wright County actually gave funds directly to the schools based on their students' enrollment and whatnot. So they were considering maybe doing something like a model like that with the money that they have left over, a certain percentage of the money left over to the schools and whatnot. They don't know what money they'll have left over, but much like what you said, Mark, there is potentially some leftover money. But again, they're not making promises, but they asked if we were interested and we said yes.
Of course we
So,
are.
so stay tuned. I mean, that is something that, to be considered.
Okay, and then one last update. I just want to talk about the chain of events that, some of this I think was in the media, but boy, this is unprecedented times. And food service is included in that. So the USDA, so that's at the federal level, went public with the announcement that they were going to continue the waiver allowing for free meals. They made the announcement before they notified state agencies. So so literally what happened is all of a sudden my email blew up. And I'm getting all these emails from business managers going, hey, has anybody heard this? Because they you know, they're on listservs for USDA. And everybody's like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And MDE had no idea. I mean, I don't want to say they didn't have any idea, but they weren't notified. So late Friday afternoon before Labor Day, late in the day, MDE did send out an email to food service directors and business managers saying, yes, we will provide you more guidance the following week. So the following week on Tuesday, we had a webinar, and basically they walked us through the application process, what we needed to do, and talked with Emily Lee, our food service director with Chartwells, and we made the decision that we could do this starting the following Monday. So I had to redo the application 3 times, but we got it done. She had to change her meal pattern, but we got it done because it was the right thing to do for our families. We had to do it. And so here's the risk is that USDA has said that funding they think funding is available through the end of the calendar year, end of December 31st. However, when they did their projections, they used April. So they used actual meals from April. And all of us business managers across the state of Minnesota, and I would say across the country, know that April was not a good month. They should have taken May. Because a lot of schools were still trying to figure it out at that time. You know, we started, I think it was last week in March, if I remember right. But anyway, that wasn't a good month. So we're anticipating funding is gonna run out before December, and we won't know that. And so we're on the hook. So what we're saying is right now, we are going to provide these meals through the end of October. We'll reevaluate. MDE has promised they will notify us as soon as possible, but we're gonna have to just keep evaluating it. We'll provide the free meals as long as we can.
Are you sure you wanna use MDE as they didn't even know about it?
Well, I know.
How
I
long did
know.
it take for you to get notified once because you said you had to apply for it, so once you applied, how long did it take to get the notification to you?
So say that again, once we
Okay,
applied.
so once you applied, because you said you had to apply
Yeah,
for
we had
this,
to
right?
apply.
So how long did it take to get notified that you were approved for it?
Or is
it like automatic?
Yeah, good question. So here's what MDE said. They said that we're gonna have 1,000 applications we have to go through. We just want you to apply.
Oh,
So I looked the other day, one of our sites has been approved, it's gonna get approved. It's just, they have to go through their processes of going through the applications. If there's something wrong with the application, they'll notify me, and they'll tell me to
I was
fix
just
it.
more thinking like timeline of communication, so like when will you actually find
oh.
out? So they run out of, because
It'll be immediate,
But
it'll
you
be
haven't
immediate.
stopped, you went ahead and kept the free going.
until the end of October, she said, but.
No,
Yeah,
but
right.
like
So-
in between this.
So what we had to
Right
do.
now, the kids are being fed for free,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Right. So what we had to do, Lynette, is that, so the first week of school, they had to be charged.
Right.
Okay? But then starting that second week and I think that's a typo, that's supposed to be Monday. I have Tuesday, it's supposed to be Monday, September 14th. It's all free. And so the other thing I wanted to mention, that's the second bullet point, we still want families to apply for meal benefits, because that affects our compensatory funding, which is our funding for our at-risk students. And twofold is it affects our compensatory funding, plus families need to have those benefits in place when we're calling it pivot, because we could be telling them, you know, on Friday, it's free meals, but we gotta start charging you on Monday. So we want them to have that in place. So so tell your friends, continue to apply. Even if they don't think they're gonna qualify, just apply. We just want them to apply. And then last update for food service is we are doing meal deliveries on Wednesdays to our Biglake Online families. We will soon be starting also our secondary hybrid students. We're still working that out. And reason we're doing Wednesdays is because that's the date we have buses available.
Right, yeah, because everybody's at home. Okay, makes sense.
And I just want to publicly thank Chartwell's and Emily Lee. She's been wonderful because they've had to, we call it pivot. She's really done everything that I've asked her to do, so.
Have you had any parents say, like that are online needing anything until you get this started?
Yeah, well, we
Pick it
started the meal delivery for Biglake online this week, and they always have the option to do curbside pickup also.
Oh, okay.
So, and they can get they can either come curbside pickup, they can get like 5 meals.
Okay.
So they can get meals for the week.
So you haven't really had any parents?
Not that I'm aware of. So,
Diane, question for you. So you were talking about applying for the benefits, right? To apply anyway?
Yep.
Is there some kind of, and I don't know this, I'm just asking, is there a guideline, a income guideline or something that is on there so they know that I might be close or, oh, I better do it? How do they know if they qualify before they even fill out the application?
They don't have it anymore.
I
They
don't
used
think
to.
it's,
We
yeah, they
have
used
it
to. I
years
think you're
ago.
right,
We used to
Lynette.
have
It's,
it.
it's not on the application.
We
So
did it years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I'm
that's what
recalling
I'm
that too.
wondering
Say you
if,
did it,
do we
and
give
hope
some
you didn't get
guidance
audited.
out there? Because there's some folks that say, I'm not gonna apply because I'm never gonna get it. And then, but if there's some guidance, it's like, oh, here's kind of the guidelines.
I don't know that we can, Mark.
Yeah.
I'd have to check on that, but that's why I'm saying just apply.
Yeah, well, maybe
Yeah.
some people, that's why they don't apply.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna get it, or you don't need to know what I make. You know,
Oh,
that's what some
actually,
people think too.
Kim
you know?
has just showed me something. Oh, it is on the application.
So
I thought
it
it
is.
was on the application.
So
Okay,
the
all
answer
right,
is-
Kim just
so
showed
the
me it's
answer
on the
is-
It used to be on the
application.
front of the app.
Okay.
That's the reduced price, correct?
You
It's
mean not the free? You mean not the free price?
Right.
Is that what you said?
I'm not the price.
But you might be able to apply and at least get the
It's-
reduced
the
price if you
chart
can't get
is
the free
for-
price.
At least the last year I was doing it.
I think they can use that
But that was
as a guide,
California too.
yeah.
So there is some kind of a.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
just
good-
from what Kim
that's
has
good to
shown me.
Let people know that, so
Yep,
that, you look and see if you're gonna qualify. or not.
Right.
You
Well,
like,
always
and I-
say, go apply anyway, but.
If anybody, like, if you have, I mean, I think too, like, if any of our friends are on unemployment, like, a lot of them have
Right.
been on unemployment, that's a cue to, apply.
right. And good point, because it just made me think of, if a family has a change in circumstances, like say they lose their job, you can apply as many times as you want. I mean, especially if you lose your job, I'm gonna encourage them to apply,
It's great stuff to know.
so.
I have heard of districts that actually create systems to where they try to have everybody fill one out, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's just, and let the numbers speak for themselves, whether just everyone, just make it part of your annual
Right,
process.
right, and I think that's those districts that are pretty high free and reduced percentage.
Yeah.
Right.
We're usually, I don't know, 27, well, during the recession, I think we did get over 30, but I think we've been maybe around 24, 25.
And it
last
used to
2
be like
years.
when there was a lot of paperwork that you would get at the beginning
Yep.
of the school year, like, there was always an application
Application in there.
in your
Yep.
paperwork. Maybe that, I don't know, that was a long time ago, so maybe it's like
When I
elementary
was
level
little
there.
too, I remember
Yeah.
filling in all this stuff, and you're like, oh, all right.
Yep.
But that's why it made me think about it, because I remember the old paper application would
Yeah.
have your guidelines there.
Yep.
You
Something
handed
like
it
that.
to
Yep.
us at the conference.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they
We
can
had
do
it
it
at
on,
the
they can do it
conference.
online through the parent portal, so it's pretty easy, for them to, and Brenda Shockey in our office, she's the one that if there's any questions,
And I assume
they
that
can
we have
call
a
her.
Hyperlink on our webpage, that's where you found it, right?
yeah, we do. Yep. So that's all I have for the financial report, unless there's any other questions I can answer for the board. Otherwise, I just need to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hedstrom, second by Scales. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. On to preliminary levy.
Yeah, and not the memo, the other one. There you go, thank you. So, and if you could enlarge that a little bit, that'd be great. So, I'm here tonight to give you some information on our preliminary levy, and unlike the last couple years, for those of you that remember, we have a very nominal increase this year. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, I'm not sure who's running it, but it's just might be Ellen. Oh, John, sorry.
Stand behind the curtain.
Yeah. Just a 2.5% increase, but there are a couple areas, or what I'm projecting to be a 2.5% increase. I do want to highlight a couple areas, and John, if you could scroll back up, just under the general fund. Under reemployment, you can see last year, we levied 43,991. This year, it's yep, there you go, right there. $213,003. This is, boy, I don't know how else to say it, but frustrating to me. What it basically is, school districts, how unemployment is handled with school districts is very different than private sector. And we could have an employee that left the district, whatever, got another job, but say they get laid off from that job, the base period for unemployment comes back to the district. So there's a lot of costs. So let me just give you an example. So when COVID hit, our second quarter, so it'd be ending June 30th, unemployment bill was $61,000. It's normally $4,000 or $5,000. And to date, I looked yesterday, so for the third, it'd be our first quarter for our fiscal year, but third quarter for unemployment, so ending September 30th, we're already up to 67,000. So the other thing I want to mention to the board is and Biglake is not alone, there's some cases out there that we have appealed. And unfortunately, the hearings are not until January. And again, we're not alone. This is happening across the state of Minnesota. So what I did for now is I put in a worst case scenario. So what I put in is $200,000, and then the difference, the $13,003, is an adjustment for prior years. So like basically they true it up, or they give you what your actual costs were from prior years. So this is one I will watch, and I think if I get more information in December, I think we should decrease that. So I want you to levy at maximum. We always do that in September, but this is an area that we could target to drop, depending on if I get more information from unemployment on some of the issues. I just will let's lower it if we can in December. That is basically where the biggest increase is. Otherwise, it would have been a really nominal increase. I just want to mention in the first three line items under the referendum, local optional revenue, equity, those increases, again, because there's less equalization. So in other words, market values are increasing, so then we pay more in taxes, we get less state aid. The other thing I wanted to mention is the district's adjusted net tax capacity and the referendum market values. So in other words, think of assessed values. Those have increased higher than the state average. So adjusted net tax capacity increased 9% over last year. State average was 6.35%. Referendum market value increased 8%. State average is 6.5%.
Yeah, mine was like 9.5, so I couldn't get that tax savings, just so you know.
Yeah.
This guy's like 10%.
So, and you always want your levy.
9.99.
So you always want your levy to be less than what that increase was. So and again, each taxpayer is different. It depends on their circumstances, but they may actually see a decrease in the school portion. And I say may. It just depends on each individual circumstance. Let's see, I don't think there really wasn't anything else I wanted to point out, unless there's any other questions for me. I did receive verification again late this afternoon then, because I know I mentioned in my memo to the board, I was still waiting on changes from MDE. It was about 5:35, I got another levy run, and everything basically matches what I have in that spreadsheet I provided for you. So I don't think there'll be any more changes, but we still always recommend levying at the maximum in case there are other changes, and then the state picks it up before December 30th. And again, like I said, we'll keep looking at that unemployment number and take a look at that in December and possibly lower if we can.
Have you ever had to challenge unemployment, or did we ever have to do that?
We've had to do that in the past,
We've
yes.
been successful. I know the answer from my previous business in Minnesota.
I can think of 2 cases. Again, I usually am not involved in them, but I can think of 2, again, pre-COVID. One we prevailed, one we did not. So we feel we have a strong case on, but we're in COVID time, so I don't know. I should mention, they have told us not to pay our second quarter billing. So the billing we got for ending June 30th, they've told us not to pay it. So I've been hanging on to it. So that tells me
Little safe
something.
underneath your desk there?
But I mean, it tells me
Little pile of
something.
money.
I think they know there's issues.
Yeah.
So they have told school districts to not pay.
Well, I mean, when you have that level of application into unemployment, how can there not be issues?
Right, right.
Yeah, that seems odd.
Okay.
So I just
Just
need
an emotion?
approval by, sorry.
Or
Yes.
Make a
Oh,
motion that
I'm
we,
sorry.
maybe
One
not.
more thing, I'm
Wanna
sorry.
wait?
I have to announce the date and time of our truth and taxation hearing. That's a requirement. So it will be December 7th. That's actually the night of our regular board meeting, but it'll be prior to our board meeting, and it'll have to be at 6:01. Because it has to be after 6 o'clock, so 6:01 PM. So, sorry, now I need a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion, we levy at maximum as requested,
Okay.
2.5%.
Motion by Scales,
Second.
second by Sixberry. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to Biglake High School Assessment Day. Yep, you can come on over.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here tonight just to give you guys an update, information of a letter that we're going to be sending out tomorrow. So just to give you a little background, last March, we were supposed to have our assessment day for our juniors. The state requires us to offer the ACT during the school day on site to any junior who is interested in taking it. And so last year we were expanding that, and we were going to have an assessment day and offer the ACT, the ASVAB, and the AccuPlacer to all juniors. Our goal really is to have all students take one of those 3 tests as they get ready for their college and career placement. Due to COVID-19, the assessment day was postponed as we were in distance learning. So ACT determines the makeup date, which is October 6th. So we've been working with ASVAB, and they are still willing to come into the schools and to administer the test. At this time, AccuPlacer is not. But we still want to have an assessment day, but it won't be the juniors, now it'll be the seniors, because they were juniors last year, now they're seniors. And so as we're trying to navigate the logistics of pulling off our ACT testing, we are going to be making a change to the normal in-person. So October 6th falls on a Tuesday, and again, we don't have any control over the test date. It's designated by ACT. And so we're going to designate Tuesday, October 6th as a distance learning day for A and B students, and the only in-person will be students who are taking a test, whether it's the ACT or the ASVAB. And part of the logistics for this is to pull off the proctoring of ACT. Normally it takes about 25, 26 staff members who are involved to make it happen, because we have to have people proctoring the test, and then the teachers who proctored the test, we have to have coverage internally for the classes that they're not teaching that day. And so when it's all said and done, and I put together the plan like we normally would, it was about 26 staff members that have to be present and willing to fill and sub and cover internally within. This year, when I start looking at who could proctor, generally when they're juniors, I take the teachers who generally teach 11th grade. Well, with 12th graders and with our schedule that we've had to adjust and modify with all of the changes this year, we actually only have one teacher who teaches solely 12th grade. Everybody else teaches a mix. And so it would require more of that internal sub coverage. And we're already running into issues with sub coverage, and then the unpredictability of who might be affected by COVID on any day. And so I did some calling around and talked to some of the other area schools and called some of the other high school assistant principals because I'm the only one that we have, so I wanted to see what other people are doing. And most of the schools are leaning, are already heading in this direction with having a distance learning day for everybody and only having the seniors come in to test. When I talked to Monticello, they're not even offering the test.
You answered my question.
And
Because I know there are some schools that are not even going to offer it.
yeah,
Because
and
it's not required for a lot of the colleges next year.
Through 2022.
Yeah.
so
So we're wondering, how many are really going to take it?
so
Do we know kind of? what's
We
the
already
survey?
paid for it.
Yeah,
Correct.
I know, but
Yep. So last year we had 167 students who had signed up to take it. This year, some of those students are no longer enrolled with us, so we're down to about 160. And then with the ASVAB, we usually generally have about a dozen students that sign up and take that.
What's that test again, you said? The second one?
The ASVAB is the Armed Service Vocational
Yeah.
Aptitude Battery Exam.
Okay.
So most kids will take that if they're leaning towards a military career. And we don't have to proctor that. The military recruiters come in and they proctor that, so we don't have to provide that. And so tomorrow then we're going to be sending out a letter, and this will only impact the high school. So it will just be students 9-12 who will be impacted by this change. So those students will have a distance learning day, whether they're A or B, and only the 12th graders coming in to test that day in person.
So Angie, on that, since that's a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible the B kid or the A kids, since that would be only one day in person that week, could they do it on Wednesday, come in person? We could have them come in for their 2 days. One is Monday, one is Wednesday.
Yeah, we talked about that, and we looked through all those logistics, and really, Mr. Nygaard, there's not a great answer because when we looked at whether or not we could do that swap, and that impacts everybody, food services, transportation, a lot of parents who are trying to have normalcy in a schedule, and so we're trying to not to have the least disruption. And the other part of that is, would that then impact the middle school as well? And so would we be disrupting two buildings if we were trying to do a full swap with the A and B? So after a lot of conversations, and Tim and I have met, and Mr. Dockendorf and I have met, and Mr. Bernard weighed in this summer as well, we think that this is our best option. And I really try to put it together in a way that we could still offer our full instructional day for those A students in person. But I almost feel like we owe it to our seniors to give them the best test date that we can give them without all these X factors that might disrupt it.
Are we forcing it, I guess, is the question, the test? Because like to Mark's point,
they don't need it.
they don't need it.
So how many kids are going to, that's what I was asking. How many kids are going to take a test? They don't need a date.
But they still might want to take it to
That's
see
what-
where they're at.
I totally agree, there's some
Right.
that might.
Right.
But the
Are we
kids
talking
that
about
have already
100?
applied and have already been
100 kids?
accepted, which is many of them,
Yep.
that are going to school, don't need it.
Well, I mean, I just because that's not required doesn't mean colleges still won't look at it.
They don't. I've seen the applications. They make it abundantly clear that it's not required,
Yep.
and it's voluntary if you want to report the score.
And until the state tells us that we don't have to offer this test, we're required to.
Okay,
So,
so it is
Oh,
gonna be a
I'm
forced
confused.
test then, is what I'm hearing.
I thought you said Monticello's not offering it.
they chose not to offer the October 6th date.
They're
I-
probably going to offer one in the spring.
I think you need to clarify something though. Okay, so Tony, you're saying it's a forced test. They're not forcing the students to take
It's
the test.
optional
It's
to,
optional to the students, but the state tells us that we have,
We still have
as
to
a school, that it has to be offered.
Yeah,
We're the
what-
ones that
What I'm saying
forced.
is, since we paid for it, are we saying as a district, for our seniors, you will either take, because it's an assessment day, you will either take the ACT or the other one.
ASVAB.
They can choose that, they can choose to. It's their choice of whether
It's
they
their
take it.
choice.
Okay.
We encourage all students to take a college or career placement test because, you know, even, and a lot of people think that the ACT is only to go to college, but the one thing that I find really beneficial about taking the ACT, and I think Tanya was alluding to it, is it gives you a lot of really good information. It gives you a profile. So even if you don't go to a four-year college, or even if your four-year college doesn't require it, it still gives you a really good kind of self-inventory of where your skills will match your interest and what your potential career path you'd be successful in. So there's benefits of taking these tests, regardless if you know what you're going to be doing post-high school.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at too with my question, is the communication that's going out to the community, is it in that spirit that you may not need this to get into the school that you want to get into? However, this will help you in many other ways. Are we presenting it in that way?
The letter that's going out.
The
I
letter
think
that's
is what he's
going out,
wondering.
or is it just assessment day on the 6th?
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe if we present it in that way to really lean into that thinking that you're talking about, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Didn't you already send something similar to that?
Yeah,
out?
I've sent out a few,
Yeah.
Tanya.
I read one just the other day.
That spirit that you're talking about, Tony. So every year when I meet with the junior class, so we had this conversation with the junior class last year, and then this year's junior class will also have an opportunity to take the ACT in March. And so when we have the conversation with the juniors, these are the things we talk about. I mean, we just give them all the information. They can make a decision whether or not they want to take the test or not.
Could we swap the seniors and the juniors?
No,
We can't do that.
no.
We can't say, what I'm getting at is, I'm trying to maintain the funds that we've already committed to it, is why I'm asking the question. So if we've already paid for the ACT test,
But the parents paid part of it.
right, so the parent,
The parents,
paid
we
part.
paid half and the parents paid
Yeah.
half.
And the seniors,
And
they're
then
gonna
what-
be accepted this college.
What happens
Right.
if all of a sudden in March we're
Right.
distance learning again, then the seniors miss out totally?
And the seniors need more time
well,
to
it's-
prepare to go to school than
You know.
the juniors right now too. I mean, if you push them out to the end of the year, that's giving them even less time to prepare
yeah, but
if they need it or feel
their
like they need it.
applications to school are due September, October. I mean, if they don't apply by, I think the latest is November, they missed the fall session for 2021.
Well, and this is a moot point because we had to submit our rosters a long time ago, and I have all their tests sitting at the high school. So they're already received and they're already inventoried and ready to
There's no
go.
point in even
So,
trying to
Tony-
So it's a
figure
moot
this out.
point.
Get off it.
Yeah.
There's no point. Okay,
It's
great.
done.
So,
I'll tell everybody, take the test.
well, Mr. Scales, I think that, you know, it's a good, you know, I mean, you know, and it's the same approach we've had. We've picked up every rock and look under it, right?
Yeah.
To see what our possibilities can be. And trust me, I have spent a lot of time on trying to figure out the best plan for our kids. And I always work in the best interest of our students.
Right.
And that's why I was trying to figure out but there's so many X factors, you know, with this COVID. And I mean, on October 6th, how many teachers will be present? Maybe all of them are present and we have nobody out. Maybe we have 15 teachers out that day. Who knows?
Right.
But to pull off this test, the other part too is generally under normal times, we would put 25 kids in a room. With now our COVID protocols, we only put about 15 kids in a room. So that requires more proctors. And then, you know, we even looked at, you know, could we put everybody in the gym? Well, there's limits on how many kids you can actually put in one site.
Right.
So this would be, again, I'm trying to, you know, there's not, you know, if there was $1 million answer on here, I'd have $1 million, you know, there's not a sole answer, I think, that comes out.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
I
Yeah.
will second it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm not giving the funds to you guys. I'm keeping them. If it's $1 million answer. The other thing that's to a little bit of a change this year is last year we offered the ACT online prep, and this year we're focusing on the MCIS accounts that all of our students have. We bought the full test prep packages. So despite whatever test it is that kids want to practice, whether it's ASVAB or ACT or SAT, the PSAT, there's opportunities for kids to do all that online test prep as well. But because the ACT is paper pencil, we still tell kids you can pick up a practice booklet from the counseling office and practice it paper pencil at home and time themselves. I think that's the best way to go about getting fully prepared. But so this is kind of where we're at. And I feel like it's the best plan to put forth. And Tim and I have had a lot of conversation about this, going back and forth and trying to see what we can do. But I think this is our best plan. So any other questions about our assessment day that we're going to be having at the high school? So the ACT is only for seniors. The ASVAB can be offered to 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And because ASVAB doesn't require a I didn't have to send out a roster and all those type of things that ACT requires, we still have that available for kids to sign up, not just the seniors who signed up last year. So that's, I think, the bulk of it. Any other questions or anything I can answer? Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Can I just clarify one thing? I think Angie might be, no, you can go ahead, you're fine.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think Angie left, but I actually think the board meeting, I think she said it was December 7th. It's December 17th. Just to
17th.
clarify.
The truth and taxation is
Yes.
December
So
17th.
that was important that we stated the correct date.
I was looking at that too. I was gonna try to see who I could text to just verify that, but if it's the regular board meeting night, it's the
Yeah.
17th, not the
Yeah,
7th.
that's what I have on,
Yep.
it's actually, I have it on here already, tooth and track.
Yeah, I had it on my
But I
calendar,
have
and
6
it's,
o'clock, I do need to change that to 6:01.
and it is also in board book, so already as a 17th, so
Yeah.
just to clarify that.
Thank you, Amber.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, on to do we have to do anything for the?
We didn't need to vote on that or anything, do we, with the assessment day?
I think it was an update. I don't know that we need an action
It
on
says
that one.
action item on it,
Yeah,
but,
I'm not sure we need an action on that.
okay. Biglake online update.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Just want to provide the board and our community with some updates regarding Biglake Online, and to be able to share kind of where we've been in terms of this journey. I think it's less than 3 months that we've been engaged in kind of activating the process of Biglake Online and then moving it into implementation. And so tonight, Mr. Haley and Mr. Hamron are here, who are going to be sharing a number of updates with us in relation to their work in terms of coordinating, providing a tremendous amount of support for our teachers and our families and our students. So we're going to be sharing a few things there. So I'm just going to do a couple of general updates, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Benji. The first thing I want to talk about in terms of just a quick update on enrollment for Biglake Online. So right now we kind of stand, K-5 is 228 students, and our 6-12 enrollment is at 301. So that gives us about 529 of our 3,000 students are enrolled in Biglake Online. And we're going to talk about some of the successes, and I'm going to turn it over here in just a minute, but I'm going to start with the first success, and that is just the work that Dan Haley and Benji Hamron have put into making sure that Biglake Online is going to be as successful as it will be, and kind of what the launch has been. They have poured in countless hours to really make sure that our teachers are feeling really confident, and this is a tremendous leap for Benji has had experience with Edgenuity in the past, so he's been invaluable to our making sure that it's as successful as it's going to be. And Dan jumped in and with both feet and just kind of head first, kind of pulling through lots of different things as far as figuring out the platform and supporting our teachers. And I'll just share one quick thing about our teachers too. I talked to a couple of them yesterday. They said, and these are highly skilled, qualified teachers, and they said they spent last week a number of days in tears just because it's such a tremendous learning curve. But they said things are going tremendously well this week, both from their perspective as well as the perspective of students and families. So I'm going to turn it over to Benji and to Dan and let them finish sharing some of the rest of the information about Biglake Online.
Can I ask how many teachers there are?
Sure. Yes, thank you. No, that's okay. So we went through a process of trying to provide about a ratio of about 30 to 1, just because the information we originally had as far as what kind of support Biglake Online would need was a little underestimating, because the teachers are doing an extraordinary amount of work to make sure that students and families are successful. So we have at the elementary at Liberty, we have essentially 3 FTE. We have about that same number at, I think the exact same number at Independence. And then we have about the equivalent of 4 at the middle school and about 5 at the high school.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan. So I'm the K-5 coordinator looking at helping students with Biglake Online for kindergarten through 5th grade. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a month here, beginning like school like no other. And we've had a lot of patience with our staff and with our students in learning this brand new tool that's new to everyone. And so one of the successes I've seen is communication amongst families, teachers, staff, to really find all the nuts and bolts of how this program works and how we can tailor it best to suit the needs of our K-5 students. Ingenuity is the platform that we're using. There's lots of flexibility within it, and we're still learning about it. But the patience and the grace that's been given to us by the families, most of all, has just been outstanding. That partnership with the community has been really important, especially when you have something so new and kind of built on the last couple of weeks of the summer here, where we're just trying to figure things out. So that's been one of the most positive experiences for me, is just hearing from families and parents saying, you know what, it's cool, like we'll work through it together. So that's been a big positive outlook for me, I guess.
And then, sorry, I'm Benji Hamron, the 6 through 12 coordinator, and the last point on there, the responsiveness, both the teachers and the community. Yesterday we handed out about 200 workbooks to families, and just meeting them at their cars and answering the questions and trying to make sure that we have that responsive communication going back and forth. Numerous days at the beginning of this journey, Dan and I were getting 200 to 300 emails a day from parents asking questions and trying to be responsive and answering those as fast as possible. It has been a challenge, but I feel like we've met those challenges. So.
Is that number of emails decreasing?
Yes.
Good.
Some of the challenges, I'll start on this one. I mean, essentially, at the start of this challenge, we were presented with a new school within the school. There's new policies that have to be made within the school. Are all of those met yet? No. We're still working through some of that. What does attendance look like within an online school? What does a school day mean within a new school? Those are all policies that we're creating right now as we're moving forward. And some of these things we didn't know until we experienced them. And so moving forward, the administrators have been great to work with. Every time I come up with a new challenge, last week it was AP classes. Hey doc, we got these new AP classes. I don't know anything about them. Come on in, let's sit down, let's get this done. So that's been great working with them.
So can we just clarify, so when you say policy, from a district standpoint, we set policy, is this separate than that?
He's meaning procedure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
from a board.
So
from a
currently
board
we're operating
overview.
under the school
Okay.
policies.
Yeah, under
Okay,
the
so
school
we're following
policies.
our internal policies
Yep.
for this student, okay.
But yeah, they're sometimes used interchangeably.
Right,
but
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, no,
'cause
it's good
there's a distinction
clarification.
there.
Yep, procedures.
Yep.
I'll let Dan go on with the K through 5.
Sure. So there's a definite difference between K-5 online for Biglake students from 612. As you can probably guess, 612 kids can be a little more independent as far as taking an online lesson and kind of going with it. With kindergarten and 5th grade kids, I don't know of a 6-year-old that can log in with their username and password. There's plenty of adults I know that can't do that. My parents included. They don't remember the Netflix password, so I have to help them out with that. quite frequently. So what I'm getting at here is, I think there was some confusion on parents' parts understanding what our platform meant for them, the time commitment that it took for them to be alongside their student, and that's what's kind of the expectations for families, is your kindergartner, your first grader, is doing this platform. They are able to navigate it with someone's help, with someone helping guide them. And not only the parents' help, but also with the teacher's help, who's been in constant communication with those families since day one. Going on to communication there, that last bullet point, that is a challenge because we know there are so many questions. We know there are so many bugs we're still working through and learning about. But after talking to some families on the first day of school for our elementary students, which was last Monday, and then talking with families again on this week's Monday, that learning curve has just been tremendous. I mean, people are able to navigate on their own. People are able to kind of explore on their own and not be so hesitant with the program, which with any new tool, you're going to have that, right? So I think things will only go better, and if we're using the emails as a measure, they have cut down quite a bit, and that's just a testament to families understanding how it works and how to use it.
So those were tears of joy that you talked about? Okay, I was trying to clarify. Okay, good.
So like I was alluding to, the families are getting much more comfortable with the platform, learning how to log in, learning how to access certain materials and find certain things. I couldn't be more proud of our Biglake online teachers. They're entering uncharted waters here with this program and with this type of platform. So those teachers are in constant communication with these families, reaching out through phone calls, through emails, through virtual Zoom calls, any way they can to get in touch with families and make sure they know they are supported. Here's a couple of submitted photos of some of our students and their at-home learning environments. And then that top middle picture there is like a social gathering of sorts, in quotes, I guess, of some of the students in Ms. Gleason's class.
And at the elementary, their teacher is family-based, right? So that the kids, if you have a
Correct.
first grader and a third grader, they have the same
Yep.
teacher.
So most families organized through the K-5 system, they will have the same teacher. So for example, if you have a student in your family that is in first grade and you also have a student that's in fourth grade, they have one contact person. For the most part, there are some exceptions in there, but for the most part, you have one person you reach out to as a family, one go-to person. Yep. So like Benji spoke about just a few moments ago, we did hand out tons of these workbooks that follow the Ingenuity platform. And we printed those workbooks for the 4 core classes, so science, social, language, arts, and math. And we got those delivered to, I would say, about 75% of the families on Wednesday. And then I was hand delivering some of those items today out at the high school. And parents have been really thankful for getting those items to them. We also in the middle of getting some science kits assembled. In the science curriculum, there are some experiments and other things that students do that require certain materials. So instead of having that burden placed on families to find 10 Q-tips, a roll of tinfoil, a toilet paper roll, whatever it may be, we are looking at assembling those items for families so that it's more accessible for all of them.
We have a few high school students that actually submitted some testimonials to us, and this is one person's view today that submitted their testimonial to Miss Meyer, their homeroom teacher. It sounds, like it's going well for her. I hear from numerous students that they really enjoy the flexibility of this type of program. I think it's going to keep coming up here in the updates and features, but there's a lot of flexibility within Biglake Online. For instance, there are students attending Wright Tech Center in the mornings or in the afternoons, and then they're able to do their schoolwork at other times during the day. There's people taking advantage of on-the-job training during the day. Just looking at these numbers a little bit, so approximately 220 Biglake High School students are taking on courses on Edgenuity. We have about 180 full-time students The other 40 would be people that are taking advantage of some of the courses that we offer on there that we don't have in our high school currently. So it could be a student taking a German class and then they're in hybrid the rest of the day. Or we have numerous AP courses on there now that we weren't able to offer in the past. So several world language courses that we haven't had in the past. Yep, and then Angie alluded to this earlier, Ms. Fulch, she talked about the ACT and MCA prep courses. We have a full range of ACT and MCA prep courses on there that we can use with students. It won't cost us any additional fee. We already are paying for all of them. At the middle school, they have their core classes right now. They have a couple electives, and we are going to be working in electives as we move throughout the year. We're trying to make sure that the middle school students still get the same range of electives that they do if they're in person. We're adding a general music course, a studio art class, which is mostly focused on photography. We have Spanish, and then we have Phy Ed and health that'll be coming in throughout the school year.
What's their day? Like, how many hours is online?
The way that it's advertised on average, so Edgenuity breaks everything down by averages on how much time they think that a student's going to complete things. Middle school students, 3 to 4 hours behind the screen. High school students, 4 to 5 hours behind the screen. You know, when we think about like a regular school day for a high school student, there's passing time, there's lunch, there's other time within a classroom that they don't have to deal with. They can go straight through their coursework. So I'm seeing some kids that are putting in longer days though too. So
Good.
Yeah.
I asked from like a normalcy standpoint, when we say a student has achieved that student contact day, that we're meeting that?
So we have to
online?
be careful. We're very careful to make sure that a student on Biglake Online has a 7-period day, the same as a student that's in person. So they have 7 classes, just like a high school student would or a middle school student would on Biglake Online as well, so that we maintain that funding. Yeah. Those are all things I've learned in the last 3 weeks. I can continue on with this. So one of the things that we're trying to work with Biglake Online is a lot of families have reached out to us and said, we have students in different parts of Biglake Online. We're getting emails coming from us in many different directions. We understand that concern, and so we're going to streamline all the communications through the Biglake High School website. It's not to say that we won't continue to send out some emails when things are really important that they need to know. But instead of 4 different buildings trying to send things to families in 4 different ways, we're going to streamline everything through the Biglake website. Yeah, that's a little bit new to me still too. I don't know if David wants to add to that, but I think that's the direction that we're moving in for communications on Biglake Online.
Just because we are looking at really a new school or providing a new school option for our families during the course of this year and potentially beyond, one of the things that we're going to be really mindful of is putting in place a program evaluation. So we will be surveying families and students, not this week and not next week, but at some point in time, and we'll give plenty of notice, just because we do want and need their feedback and value that feedback as well. Because the student experience is going to be really important as we move forward in terms of making a decision about any online platforms that we may continue with as a district. And then secondly, we're going to be conducting focus groups. So we'll be doing this either virtually or doing it in person, but it'll be small gatherings of folks and basically taking notes about what it is we're hearing, analyzing those notes and looking for themes and patterns to emerge that will really help us make informed decisions about how we support families and students and staff in our online school. And so we'll be scheduling those, again, very specific to staff to get their feedback, to students, and then also to families. And then one of our other part of our program evaluation components will be to monitor online engagement and course completion. And that's set up through a dashboard pretty regularly that this can happen. And you know, if Benji were to talk a little bit more about his experience with this, just even this year, some of the teachers are saying that some kids are already really far into some of their courses. And so they're working really at that kind of self-paced process. And the Biglake teachers are supporting them through coaching and feedback and ensuring that their needs are being met. So,
Are we going to take the MCAs again in the?
so at this particular point in the year, the answer is yes. We are expecting, based on federal government, they have not provided any waiver for states. So we have been informed by MDE to plan for MCAs in the spring. So we actually did start this week and last week actually at all of our schools have started doing our screening. So at Liberty, we're using FastBridge for K2, and then we're using STAR for grades 3 through 10, potentially grades 3 through 11.
So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out in the spring, in terms of how this compares to, let's say, the other model.
Yeah.
So how about the online kids? Are they taking any assessments?
So online students will be taking, our middle school and high school students will be doing the screening and working on that remotely. We'll probably look at that as an option for our 3-5 students at winter, this winter screening window. Right now, we're just wanting them to get comfortable with the Biglake online platform and get comfortable learning at home in this particular way. But we are going to be screening our Biglake online students using STAR through. Actually, we can go through 6 through 12 for our Biglake online students. And the nice thing with STAR is that it's correlated to MCAs. So there are focus skills that we can pull out and know exactly how students are going to be tested and what standards are going to be tested on. So that would be a way of guiding our teachers to say, if we're concerned about any learning loss from last year, it gives us that opportunity to look at the standards from the year before, as well as this current year standards, to make sure that students have the opportunity to master or be successful at them.
Two things I was thinking about. One, thank you to both of you for really leaning in and understanding that. It sounds like a lot of learning is going on. Is there an opportunity for any kind of lessons learned through this process that we could carry into our educational process when we actually are all back at school again? There's something to think about.
Yeah, actually, and the beauty of having, and again, Benji, if you want to jump in and speak to this, you can. But I know like a number of our Biglake online teachers right now are figuring out how to really utilize the platform to differentiate instruction in pretty significant ways for individual students. And because, again, through our, because we've had that partnership 14, 15 years now with Edgenuity, we would be continuing that most definitely for our high school kids. But if we look at expanding our online presence beyond this year, there are lots of things that we're looking at in terms of what are some of the electives that some of our students could potentially take. And what are some of the experiences? Because again, we have a finite number of AP courses that we're currently offering, but we have paid for access to those AP classes. So there are opportunities for, I know some students in particular who do some independent work on AP classes.
Are you looking at one of them?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So in that case, a student like Ella possibly could look at auditing an AP course in terms of preparing for an AP exam, not taking it for credit, but having access to those resources and tools.
That's a good selling point.
And the pace, if a student wants to come after the first trimester and come back into the hybrid model, is it pacing with that where that would be a pretty seamless transition for that student?
Yep.
Okay.
So the standards are
Okay.
paced in a way so that we're expecting, if we see transition at trimester of kids leaving Biglake Online, returning to our brick and mortar schools, then that would give kids kind of that opportunity to step in standard wise where they should
Okay.
be. There'll be some differences, but
Right.
Or if they go back the other way.
correct. Yep.
And just to add to that too, Edgenuity is a bit of a set program, but they allow the flexibility, and especially our middle school teachers have been doing an awesome job with this, of going through what they're covering in person first trimester, they're aligning that to Edgenuity first trimester, so that if they come back second trimester, let's say in math, they should pick up right about in the same spot that they would otherwise. Edgenuity allows you to rearrange the units. You can put them into the order that your district would do. So, one other thing, just to add to that too, they created a whole score of courses called Learning Laws that they looked at standards that may have been missed from March till the end of last year. And you can assign students who may have missed or not participated in education during that time. So we have some teachers that are assigning those courses to students as well. So.
And along with the learning loss courses, there are courses, I think they're called bridge courses. So it kind of provides opportunity for some pre-learning for students. So let's say if they're starting high school, moving straight into geometry, and they want to kind of get a little bit of a preview and kind of get some confidence before they start the school year, they'll have opportunity to participate in those courses as well.
That's good.
Great. Nice update. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Thank you. Okay, on to the superintendent report.
Madam Chair and members of the board, I do have a few items I'd like to just update you on this evening. First of all, I just want to take the time to welcome Ella to the table. Again, I know Madam Chair actually invited her and welcomed her at the beginning, but I did run into Ella last night at the city council meeting, and she just shared with me too, is that she's used to kind of giving a report there, and we had talked about that. We met earlier this week, Principal Dockendorf and I and Ella, and we talked about her maybe making that part of our routine. I think that would be a really good idea. As early as maybe next month, we'll see what you're comfortable with. But if you're already doing it, you're like a pro, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But we that was in the plans anyway. So I do think that you can expect to hear from Ella. And also too, I would encourage the board too, from time to time, if you do have specific questions that maybe you want a perspective, I would encourage you to. Ella's prepared, and my first impression is she's really bright, so she could probably handle some questions. Is that fair, Ella?
Yeah.
All right, perfect, perfect. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got a couple other items. It is the 3-2-1s, and as you recall, this was kind of my get to know you, try to establish some themes. It's been a little challenging to do this, but I have completed 25 so far, and at about an hour and a half each one. We're getting there. So I've got a handful to get through yet, but I'm hoping to bring my findings, if you will, maybe the themes, and share kind of a summary of these.
Oh, I thought that's what we were getting.
No.
Not yet. It's a teaser.
Well, it's a cliffhanger for you, Mark. Just hang on. But I will bring that to our next study session, because my hope is that maybe from that, it'll help create some goals for myself. I did have a conversation with Tanya last week, and we talked about how I know typically, from what I understand, Steve and the board had established goals in the summer, usually for the school year. There's been nothing normal about this school year, or so I'm acknowledging that. But in the same respects, I guess I'd like to maybe build some goals upon some of those themes maybe I see. I also know that we're due for revisiting of our strategic plan. I know we talked at length with the principal group today and acknowledged that maybe some visioning and some different things like that would be helpful for the district. So we're positioned to where some of those things are needs and could emerge as goals. So I would ask that at our next study session, I'll bring kind of a summary, and we'll build upon that and then establish some goals so that at the next regular board meeting, I'm not sure if there's a formal approval process on that. We'll work that out, but not an approval process for the superintendent's goals. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm doing what the board is wanting me to be doing. So that's kind of the game plan. I do know that we did have a regular, or actually a study work session. We call it a work session here?
Yep.
Yeah, it works.
Work session scheduled for October 8th, but I was informed this evening that we have 2 board members that cannot make it that evening. So I'm wondering if we might have an opportunity to take a look at our calendar to schedule that. And I guess I would like to maybe look at that week, if possible, or the following week would be preferred.
Following week is MEA.
Yeah, 7th I cannot. 6th I cannot.
5th it is.
Looks like the 5th to me.
5th works for me.
5th works for me right now.
The 5th works for me.
Or make it, sorry.
Okay, you're good.
Amber, does the 5th work for you?
Yeah, I think I can make that work.
Okay. So we will target the 5th for our next study session.
6:30
We'll plan on 6:30.
or the work session.
Or the work, study/work. And like I said, a topic will be kind of a review of the 3-2-1s, as well as establish or at least visit about some superintendent goals, as well as I do think it would be worth our time to have just an update on our hybrid model, and just to have a quick conversation about maybe an update from the principals and David, and maybe John can get involved as well, and we can get an update on that as well during that time. And so those would be essentially the agenda topics for that meeting. If that's okay, unless there's anything else people wanted to add.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but it is a work session, so.
I love the work.
So we will make sure that we are working. I also wanted to remind the board, if you were not aware, here's the save the date. We do have an upcoming candidate forum in October. It's on October 19th at 6:30, where we will not only have board members and candidate board members at the table, but we will also have the county, state, and U.S. has been invited, but we'll see where that whole thing is. And Gloria, is there anything else you want to add on that? I'm not sure in terms of.
Township's gonna be there too, just saying.
City too, that's right.
And township.
And the township will be, okay, great.
Everybody's invited.
Everybody is invited, and I'm not sure
It'll be a
who's
long
all
night.
confirmed, Gloria, or is there a confirmation process?
Yes,
So,
There's been emails and,
or it will be due October 1st, but I'll follow up with those.
okay. And so for those that haven't attended, I'm sure many of you have, but it sounds like there'll be some get-to-know-you type questions, and then some questions from the audience, and the candidates will have an opportunity to respond.
We've
So,
all attended at one time or another.
have you?
Sitting on
Well-
that stage.
Anybody in the community
very hot.
listening right now?
Well, it's like, isn't there meet and greet at 6, and then the forum starts at 6:30?
Is it in the
Right.
high school?
Gloria, you communicated it well,
Auditorium.
so we're in good shape. So, yeah, so it is in the auditorium. So we will make sure that we do our part in distancing and managing that whole piece as well. So we are working with that.
have you extended an invite to the candidates to attend a school board meeting so they can actually be prepared to take on that role?
I have actually conducted 2 of the 3. I've
He's
met
meeting
2
with
of the
them.
3 and conducted a 3-2-1 conversation. And it's been really nice getting to know these individuals and new members of the community. So I have extended that it's helpful to follow that process, yeah.
You'd expect them to be here.
Well, yeah,
They
if
could
you're
be-
interested in being on the school board, you'd think they'd be
They
here
could
learning
be,
about the school
they
board.
could be listening
Right,
remotely.
exactly.
Right,
And,
but they're welcome to be here is our point.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
So-
Is extending the offer, if they feel like they need that they can come and engage or listen in on the conversation. Okay.
All right. So I just want to remind people of that. And I have added to my report, not to make it too long, so hang in there with me, folks. But this is one of my favorite parts of my report. I've done this in every board meeting district that I've been in. This is, I didn't run it by you, Tanya, so it's probably getting, no, it's good. It's positive. I call it my From Around the District section. And it's when we take kind of a quick whip around the district and I take an opportunity to acknowledge some awesome things that are going on. So, and I know there's been other awards and different things and acknowledgments that have been done, but this is just Tim's version of that. So if you will, I'm going to name a couple people that I want to acknowledge, more than a couple, a handful. Biglake Online, Dan Haley and Benji Hamrin. My goodness, they have been working hard. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the work. And I will say this too, you know, as we approach this year, what's really neat about that is the mindset that these gentlemen have brought to the table, the can-do, this is what we're here for, we've got to make this work, we've got to figure out a solution, and that's what I appreciate, gentlemen, you bringing to the table. I also want to acknowledge Tim Mudek. It's a custodian from Indy. I spent much time this summer painting each grade level wing. The inside of Indy has a refreshed new interior look, and we appreciate all the work that went into making our building look fabulous. So we want to acknowledge custodians and those that have done work there too.
I noticed the blue walls down there, Lily, looked really nice.
They do look really nice, don't they? Exactly. Liberty, the noon monitors, and I'm going to name them because it's Lisa Jurek, Katie Azowski, Nettie Scarhouse, sorry about that, Nettie, I promise I'll learn it. Katie Carlson, Amy Castle, Claudette Cassina, Bert Gordy, Kayla Dietrichs, and Lisa Ugnenbau. So they have obviously, with the new procedures and new processes, these people have worked really hard and made those little kiddos feel comfortable, and that's part of that process. So I want to acknowledge that. And in general, I just want to mention the secondary buildings. This hybrid model has been challenging. We see pockets of some success. We see areas in which we need to improve. But anytime you make a change, that's what you can expect. And I will tell you, and I'll come back to the same comment I used for those gentlemen, it's the mindset that you bring to that table. And I will tell you this, what I have noticed about Biglake staff and Biglake people in general, that's the mindset that they bring. We have to make this work. Our kids deserve that. And I applaud each of those individuals for the extra work. There are many others that are important that I could have acknowledged, but I just want to thank those people individually. So, and that's...
And we do have the Hornet Pride
That's-
as the public way to address that as well.
As well, exactly. So I'm still figuring that part out. I was made aware of that, but I just thought I would do my thing for right now too. So, but I wanted to kind of, as I go through, and well, and I also want to mention too, I've been working hard on making lots of videos. If people aren't sick of my voice yet, they probably will be soon, because there'll be another one tomorrow. So yes, I've been sending.
Thanks for the warning.
Just want to let you all know I've been working on this. No, but there is a community video coming out tomorrow. And then just so you didn't know this, but I have been doing an internal staff video as well about every other week. So just giving messages and different things like that. And so trying to utilize that video tool as a communication means. So it's been going okay. But yeah, so that completes my report, Madam Chair, unless, of course, there are questions or comments people would like to visit about.
Any questions
Do
or
we need to
comments?
vote on the change of the work session to August 5th? Do we, I mean, it's August 5th.
That's a really good question, actually, Tony, because
Yeah, but
I
it's
think-
not on our agenda, so.
Well, I know, but I was just saying, I can't remember the protocol for
Yes,
changing it.
You have to vote on the change.
because that one was on our, I think, in the reorganization list of meetings. It was listed on that day.
That's why I have it on.
Yeah.
Right,
I
so
think
I'm
we need to
wondering,
hold a vote for that.
I think it would be appropriate for us to just take a motion and approve just to cover us for that date.
So you want to add that to, I'll amend our
Agenda?
The agenda from earlier
agenda,
today?
add that
Sure.
to the agenda.
Right.
You want to,
I'll second that.
no, motion.
I'll make a motion that we move the work session to October 5th.
Okay.
Second.
that's- Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did you also, I guess we're supposed to second the change on the agenda too.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, but somebody,
This isn't a work meeting.
I talked too long, sorry.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
so moved.
Moved by Scales, second by Nygaard.
They have it down now.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?